Can we just take a moment of silence for Pat Robertson? I know you're all devastated in the chat today. We're all very sad that he died. You know, I just want to be respectful here.
Who that?
I can't.
I used on the timeline.
There's the headline from Rolling Stone.
Yeah, right. Seems like, well, you know where he's at.
Wow.
For 9/11. Yeah.
Probably, I think the only accurate headline I saw of this.
People for that. Wow.
Yeah. One of the worst things that he ever said was in 2010 when Haiti had their massive earthquake. He said that it was because they were like worshiping demons or something like that, basically saying that they deserved it. Yeah, 10,000 people died, and he said that shit.
Yeah, none of that surprises me. Horrific white people do horrific white people shit. That don't shock me none. What's really crazy is just the particular like choices of action. Like if I thought somebody worshiped demons, you feel like I would slander them publicly. You feel like if I thought a whole people
power demons
could bring calamity, like if I like really, you might want to chill. And how exactly? I'm trying to figure out, like, because 9/11 in and of itself, the mainstream narratives on 9/11 were prejudice in and of themselves. But how'd they get the gay people? How'd they get gay people in that? What could gay people? How do you tie y'all in?
Evangelicals can't find any issue that they won't blame on the LGBTQIA community. So, when the aliens show up, it'll be because of the gay community.
And fun fact about Pat Robertson. So when I was a kid and indoctrinated into evangelicalism and, conservatism and stuff. So Pat Robertson had this special on how evil Halloween was. And he was offering free books. I don't know if it was for kids specifically, but I was so brainwashed. I willingly called and ordered that free book. And I read most of it. That's where I was mentally. So to be here, it was mostly just bullshit. Like a lot of the stuff was, I mean, I don't remember a lot of it, but I just remember thinking like, wow, Halloween is evil, and I did not celebrate after that. So lots and lots of, I remember seeing like anti-trans
How old were
segments. You then? I was probably like 11, I want to say, maybe 12, around that age. I remember the anti-trans segments where they tried to like tie trans people to bestiality. Wild. And I remember thinking, man, these gay and trans people are sickos. Like, wow, this is crazy. So I'm very happy that Pat Robertson is now with Lord Satan, and I hope that he helps him a little bit more. Give him a couple extra points for us.
I used to watch Pat Robertson a little bit growing up. He was, my family is religious, still religious to this day, but we watched him for a minute. He was always strange to me. He stood out a little bit worse than even like the John Hagees at the time, because he really did go straight for the political blood. You know what I mean? He played dirty, but he wrapped it in this real nice old grandpa shtick. But every now and then he would do some takes that were just as disgusting as what you mentioned, man. So, my mother said, if you can't say anything nice about somebody, don't say anything at all. So I don't have anything to say about Pat Robertson.
I got plenty to say.
I have nothing nice to say about Pat Robertson. Right. I'll yield to you.
To me, like the demon stuff is pretty like normal for some of these like evangelical preachers and stuff. To me, the more the Pat Robertson, and I'm like I mentioned to you guys before we started, I'm going to struggle here to not accidentally say Robert Pattinson at some point, but Pat Robertson. Was like he would come up with the most wild segments to just start talking about. Like, to me, the one that sticks out, it was like in 2013, he claimed that gay people wore a secret AIDS ring that they would use to cut people and give them AIDS.
No, you know what's crazy?
Wow.
The Bahamas is a constitutionally Christian nation, and I'm really realizing how deeply, I know that's problematic. We have a Christian council, trust. I know. But I'm listening to that. When you said that just now, it was like, I heard that. I'm like, I heard of that, and I'm like, I wonder if this has something in common with growing up in a Christian nation, because the story was instead, it used to be, there was this movie theater on Prince Charles Drive, and there was a rumor that there was needles like in the chair when you sit down, and that you would just get AIDS. I remember that, and when you said that just now, I was like, there's a Christian upbringing in the background of my stories. I see this. Okay, proceed, Bender. See the
he had some really wild takes over the years. And he also had moments where he would get very confused and seem to accidentally advocate for something else. Like there's a few segments out there where he seemed genuinely confused as to whether he was against a person because he couldn't tell if they were a trans woman or a trans man, and then he would come off sounding like accidentally being like pro-trans rights for a minute or two. There's some weird like videos out there of him being very confused. I mean, the guy is fucking old. Like he was freaking old. 93 years old. And he didn't retire. He retired fairly recently too. So this guy was like on that studio floor set doing his shtick. Sometimes his co-host would have to literally walk him through the segment. Like it was just bizarre stuff.
I was just reading through the browsing through this piece. After a gunman killed 60 people in Las Vegas in 2017, Robertson blamed disrespect for Trump. Like this is just how far the insanity goes.
He used to say you could get AIDS from towels. That was another big one. He's like, if you ever go to Kenya, make sure you don't touch some of the towels because you can get AIDS from the towels there. You know, like he was a constant mix of homophobia and racism. Like it's just a career of homophobia and racism over and over and over.
I don't remember who I saw say this. If it was on Twitter or if it was on the Majority Report earlier when I was on, but someone said, what Matt Walsh is right now to trans people is Pat Robertson.
Juniper.
Was to just the LGBT community overall back in the 90s and early 2000s. Like he was the guy leading the charge when all these states were coming out banning gay marriage back before there was all of a sudden this push to, well, not all of a sudden, but that there was this final push to actually legalize it in the country.
Yeah, he had a lot of influence. Like Zoomers are lucky to not really be familiar with him, but everyone else, those of us millennials, he was a huge influence. And yeah, to say that he is, I'm glad that he's gone would be an understatement. I want to find where he is buried and pee on his grave, take a dump on it. I can't be, again, like the man lived to be 93 years old, very wealthy. He lived
a full happy life, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But clearly didn't do enough. But clearly didn't do enough evil to extend his life as long as Henry Kissinger has been able to. Right? Yeah. Like I feel like it seems like the worse you are, the longer you live. Yeah. And so I think we can all go by that rank now. And yeah, Pat Robertson, 93 years old, must have been a really bad guy, but not Henry Kissinger level bad.
Right. Henry Kissinger. Yeah. I saw a meme about the Grim Reaper. He was like on one of those, the stuffed animal machines, like the little claw machines. And he's like, is Henry Kissinger even in this thing? He's like, oh, okay, I'll take Pat Robertson.